Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back to Two Spot Monkeys Live. It's been just a brief pause, but we're back here. This is episode 118. I'm Tom, joined as always by Jim. Jim, it's wonderful to be back with you today. How's it going?
It is going good. We are in August. Football is around the corner. We were talking about that just before we hit record. The Cubs are playing meaningful baseball games. They were buyers at the trade deadline. I'm loving life right now.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. I know we had a little brief summer vacation, but we're back and we're excited to get some momentum going back in the month of August. Lots of stuff going on. And then hopefully into the fall with our normal schedule and connections and just two good friends talking about professional wrestling and other things. Football will be on the radar here soon. We know that for sure, like you mentioned. So
yeah, absolutely. We've kind of already earmarked that September, what'll that be, 8th, I think it is, when we record. We'll be doing our NFL picks as well as talking about All Out that happened the weekend before and whatever's coming next and everywhere. But we haven't been with you in about a month, maybe a little over, I don't know, right about a month. And while I'd love to say that we're going to sit here and talk about everything that's happened over the last, 4 or 5 weeks, we do have time frames. And if we did all that, we wouldn't also get to talk about what's happening this weekend, which is WWE Summerslam. Tom, I meant to ask you this before we recorded, but I'll just put you on the spot on the air. We have talked about this before. Are you attending Summerslam?
I am not attending SummerSlam.
Okay.
No, as much as I'd like to, and I know that there's still tickets available, even though they're saying that it's sold out, and it probably will sell out by tomorrow. I would have loved to have made a great weekend out of this with GCW tonight. The Tigers are playing baseball tomorrow. They have a 1:00 first pitch. It would have been awesome to do a 1:00 Tigers game, evening SummerSlam right in downtown Detroit. Just didn't work out. Lots of stuff happening with the family. I'm a father-in-law now.
That's right.
I have a daughter who no longer bears my last name. So, our July was great. Our July was incredibly busy. But for me, my August is prime time for work. So even though it's on a weekend and even though it'd be great to pull it off, it's not happening. So I'm hopeful. I know we chatted a little bit before we hit record. I know when you said you plan to watch SummerSlam, I'm going to really work hard to try to watch it tomorrow night live because I'm really excited about it. And based on the card, which is what we're going to really talk about today, I believe it's a really solid lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. And I understand the family thing. I mean, it took me 7 years to get back to a live show. I don't think we've talked since I went to my live show on July 1st. Wrestling Revolver is a lot of fun. They put on a really good show. I mean, you walk in the front door and it's Sami Callihan sitting at the door, who I'm not a huge Sami Callihan fan, but it was just that moment of like, oh, that's Sami Callihan taking my ticket and stamping my hand and, whatever. No, they put on a really fun show. One of the things, I said it over there, didn't I? Yeah, I did. I was going to grab the poster. But they gave you a poster because I did the meet and greet. And then you walk down this line and can get signatures from everybody on the poster for free, with the exception that on that night of Roddy Strong. I should have asked him if he would have signed it after I paid him $20 to take a picture with him. But it was $20 for a picture. An autograph, though, was $40. And then they did a combo, I think, for $50 and I just couldn't bring myself to pay him $40 to scribble his name on something for me. That was $20 for a picture was a lot. But our friend Greg is a good friend of Roddy's, and I wanted to send him a picture and post it on our group of friends. So I went ahead and I spent that. But I just couldn't drop $50 on that in a signature. So. But anyway,
that's a little bit on the high end. Actually, that's a lot on the high end. All due respect.
And I don't know that Roddy said it. He was being sponsored by a local, I think it was a sports card shop, who had a table set up, and that's where he was standing, which was pretty much the first table right after the Wrestling Revolver merch table. And he was nothing but nice. I mean, super, super kind guy. And I know I've heard that before. I've talked to Roddy once or twice at fan gatherings in the past. Not that he would have remembered me in any way. They were always, hey, great match tonight kind of conversations. It wasn't, like we sat and solved the world's problems together or anything. But it was fun there were a few folks that were not at the meet and greet. That was a little bit of a bummer. Mance Warner and Matthew Justice weren't there from Second second gear crew. Manders was there. He was super nice. The Rascals were there. Zachary Wentz, I got his signature, but just before I got to them, Trey Miguel and Myron Reed had both kind of gotten pulled off to the side by somebody else. So I wasn't able to get their signatures, and that was a little bit of a bummer. And then Masha Slamovich had walked away just before I got to her as well. And I kind of wanted to get hers as well. But all in all, it was fun. I got Mike Bailey, got to meet him. That was kind of fun. And Bailey and Strong, I think they put it up for free on YouTube, actually, on the Wrestling Revolver page there. So if anybody's got extra time, Roderick Strong and Mike Bailey's worth going out of your way to see. It was a lot of fun live. And the Cage of Horrors match between Second Gear Crew and the Rascals was just insane. Insane. Manders takes a bump that a man that size should not be even thinking about trying to do. So, but none of that has anything to do with SummerSlam. Sorry.
But that's exciting because, again, like you said, you had to wait so long to experience live pro wrestling and to have just a really good experience. I'll argue great experience. Here's the thing. You've whet your appetite now, Jim. So how long can you go before you go again?
Well, they're back in Des Moines. Now, Des Moines is a 5-hour drive for me, but it's the closest thing that's at that level. Now, I've heard a rumbling that maybe in October, and I should look at the AEW schedule, that they might be coming more to closer to this area for a collision or something. And I would do what I needed to hopefully get to that show if that's true. So quick funny story. Gringo Loco was on the show, and I had a chance. He and another guy, and I can't even think of the other guy's name. He was more of a local talent or Revolver talent. Were at a table kind of away from where the main line was. So I went over to get their signatures, and especially Gringo Loco, because I do really enjoy Gringo Loco. And I told him, for whatever reason, I decided that was the guy I was telling. It was my first time in 7 years being at a live show, and I was excited, whatever. And he was super nice. We were just chatting. And I said, well, I live in Nebraska, and, nothing really comes to Nebraska. He goes, yeah, we don't really go to Nebraska. I was like, well, thanks, man. And he goes, you know what? I wrestled in Omaha one time. I was like, that's the problem. One time, and you haven't been back. Like come on. And there's one local in Omaha that runs, and I've just never been to, and they occasionally bring in somebody, but yeah. When will I go back? So September 2nd is their next show in Des Moines. I'm not going just based on it, Labor Day weekend and All Out. And I've got a trivia gig that weekend. Their big bring in, quote unquote, although they've got a lot of indie stars on the show. It was a really, really good loaded show. Their big bring in that weekend is Tyler Breeze. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't move my needle as much. If he was on a show that I went to, I'd be fine with that. Although they've added in some others. Eric Young is going to be there and some other folks that I'm like, well, if I went to the show, I know I'd have fun, but got other things going on. So we'll see when their next show is after September. The one slight problem after September is you start getting into the fall and the winter, and weather can certainly get dicey, especially when you're talking a 5-hour drive. So, we've done a few of those Ring of Honor shows in Chicago where you've had were you about 5 hours from Chicago, Tom?
No, 3.5, depending on traffic. Yeah. But nonetheless,
but some that took 5 or 6 hours because of weather. So.
In December, December, February, some of those January shows, you never know. Well, here's the one thing I'm gonna just throw out there. You can sleep on this. It may never materialize. It sounds like, Jim, you have an opportunity to become a promoter of professional wrestling in Nebraska. That might be your key to unlocking the access point for yourself. And again, you have a very successful trivia business, so you know how to wheel and deal and promote. And I'm underselling you, so I know it's greater than that. But that to me, I feel like you're going to build on those pillars to be more of an entrepreneur in the pro wrestling space.
I have another friend who said the same thing. He's like, you should run a show. There's a bar called the Chicken Coop in Kearney, and they have a really large parking lot. And he's like, you could run a show outside right there, in the parking lot. And it also happens to be directly next to the police station, though. And I was like, I don't know about running right next to the police station like that. I don't know. Your security would be easy, but also, we could get, if there was anything, and he's like, okay, then Hy-Vee's parking lot, which is even bigger, actually, and on the north end. So, yeah, he's already scouting locations for me. I don't know if I'd want to do an outdoor show in Nebraska, though. I always say there's like 6 nice days in Nebraska. The rest are too hot, too cold, or too windy. So, I don't know about an outdoor show. Anyways, you never know. I doubt that ever happens, but who knows? The Ask a Nebraskan presents pro wrestling. Maybe that'll be a thing sometime.
You've already got your title sponsor.
Myself.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna need to win that Mega Millions tonight before there's any show getting promoted, probably by me.
If you do, then I'll see you at SummerSlam tomorrow.
Absolutely right. If I win Mega Millions, I'll be front row. You'll see me on the PLE on Peacock. Well, all right. Speaking of SummerSlam, we should probably segue. Before we should update on head-to-head. Well, I guess we should update the fact that you won the last head-to-head, Tom, which evened us up. I had won the previous section. Tom won the beginning of this year's section, and I think I have the finals. Yes, you were 66-24. I was 64-26 in that section. If we want to be really, honest about it, you really beat me by one, because that Kenny Omega Will Ospreay match, I went against my head and just trying to throw a Hail Mary. But
I don't know, though. I watched that match. I know we haven't debriefed, or I feel like we didn't debrief on that show. I know when I watched that show, Forbidden Door 2, I wasn't so sure that Will Ospreay was walking out of there. I mean, what an amazing match, bottom line. But then some of those near falls had me on the edge of my seat regardless. And then with this important buddy wager on the line too, I was like, oh man.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. There were a couple of times, and that's when, we've said this before, that's when the beauty of pro wrestling is, when you know what's going to happen as far as the result, but they still make you believe the other thing can happen. And they did that beautifully. That was a phenomenal match, a good show, a really strong show all in all. A couple of just phenomenal things along the way on that show, but probably more AEW in a couple of weeks when we're back to our normal schedule. Today's going to be a little more WWE heavy, but yeah, you got the win. You got the Duke on that one. So far on this section, we've only picked 2 shows. We originally had intended to pick 3. However, Death Before Dishonor, I want to blame Tony Khan, and yet I've read all of the things about how much changed, and Eddie Kingston going to the G1 and Mark Briscoe getting hurt and all of that. So I'll give a little bit of a pass, but they didn't announce that full card until the night before the show, which is disappointing, frankly, and helped push me towards I didn't order that show, which might be the first, I believe is the first Ring of Honor pay-per-view I haven't ordered since the sale to Tony Khan. So, and part of it was I was like, they've done nothing to make me care about this show. Like, they hadn't built any angles on the TV show, and I don't watch the TV show, but I read the results every week. I read the reports. There's work to be done with Ring of Honor in my eyes. If you're going to sell pay-per-views, if it's just going to be dark and Dark Elevation, that's fine. You can do that, but then don't try to sell pay-per-views with it. AEW Dark never had a pay-per-view. So Death Before Dishonor we didn't pick because of that. And that was also, I believe, was that the same weekend your daughter got married, I think, Tom?
It was the Friday night before. Yep.
So, with the show, the matches being announced that late, asking Tom to try and figure out his picks that weekend was not a fair thought either in your life. You had a few things going on. So Money in the Bank, Tom, you went 6-1. I went 5-2. I don't have the results in front of me, so I don't remember what our difference was on that one.
I think it was the men's. Was it the men's Money in the Bank match?
Yes, you got Damian Priest, and I had Logan Paul, I believe. So that was the difference. That's right. And then the Great American Bash, we both went 6-1 because of the incredibly stupid finish to the Gable Stevenson Baron Corbin match.
I'm just glad. Here's the thing: not we because we didn't make the picks, but when I was weighing my picks in the days before I posted them, and then I posted them, and then I compared them to you. I was really on the fence between Gallus and the family. I thought it was the time for the family, but I was like, Gallus has burned me so much. Do I let them burn me again? And so I'm glad
they wouldn't lose.
I'm glad that didn't happen. So.
And I was on the fence about the 8-person, the kickoff show match. I kind of thought maybe they would have Noam Dar pin Frazier to set up a future Heritage Cup match. And then I was like, but it's the kickoff show, and the kickoff show almost always the baby faces win. And so I went back and forth and finally settled on the baby faces. So again, I'm also glad that I didn't talk myself out of that one. In fact, I think I might have originally posted the Metaphor team as the winners and then gone back and edited it, shortly thereafter and thought, no, the baby faces usually win. I'm going to go with them on the kickoff. That worked out okay.
Yeah. So as the month of July came to a close with the 2 picks that we made, or 2 sets of picks, standings entering today and this SummerSlam weekend are Tom 12-2, Jim 11-3. We default to Money in the Bank picks for who picks first today, which will be you because you were just 1 match behind after Money in the Bank. And I think we circumvented saying it. You were talking about how you had won the latter half of 22. I won the first half of 23. We had, as a gentleman, just said, you know what, let's call that a wash. I would have bought you a wrestling figure. You would have bought me one. Well, it's like shaking hands and fist bumping at the same time. It all means the same. So we just said we'll call it square, and we will reset the deck for this latter half of 23, and where the chips fall, we will see.
That's right. Yeah, I hadn't cashed in my prize from the latter half of 22 yet, partially because a lot of what I've been ordering have been more than, we kind of have a around $30 figure, a normal wrestling figure, $20 to $30. Sometimes I know we did the box the one time when you won, which is again that 30 range, 30, maybe 35. A lot of what I've been ordering have been more in the $40 and $50 range. The Asylum Road Warriors, the beautiful Power Town. They took forever to frickin' ship them. But the Bruiser Brody,
that's cool.
Is just terrible.
No, that's cool. Yeah, a little glare, but no, I can see it.
Nice. Yeah, Brody and Hanson.
Great packaging, great looking figure.
Just phenomenal. I'm not getting the Cardona and Myers because I don't care about Cardona and Myers, to be honest. And it's $100 for Cardona and Myers, and no, I'm not paying $100. I kind of wish I would have ordered like the Kerry Von Erich, Magnum TA, maybe even the Vern Gagne and Luthez from Series 1. There's rumblings that they're doing the Road Warriors in Series 2, and I mean, take my money at that point. But the Undertaker and Gobbledygooker I have ordered, that was like $70 or $80. So everything, a lot of the things I've been liking have been bigger ticket things and not in the realm of what we've done. So I hadn't cashed it in. So yeah, we just called it a wash. And now I'm gonna whoop you this half season and see if I can't get a figure out of you. So
we build on that opportunity today.
Yeah, we do. So WWE SummerSlam this Saturday. Tom alluded to. I'm going to see it on Sunday, just with my schedule this weekend during the day. So I'll be removing the Facebook and Twitter, or I'm sorry, X logos. Stupidest thing. Anyways, that's a rant I could go on for another day, but I won't here. But I'm gonna call it Twitter just because I want to. Twitter and Facebook for my phone, the apps shortcuts, I should say, so that I don't accidentally get spoiled. Because I am looking forward to this show. So let's talk about it. The first thing we are going to pick, we talked about whether we were going to or not. We actually revealed our picks to each other and decided we would. The Battle Royal that they've announced, featuring LA Knight, Sheamus, who have a one-on-one match later tonight on SmackDown, and more. I assume this is kind of like the WrestleMania thing, right? This is where we get people on the show who otherwise don't have a spot. So we could speculate on a number of other people who probably will be in this. I would assume Austin Theory will be in this, Santos Escobar, who are headed towards the U.S. title match, and a number of other people. Riddle probably will be in this. Lots of people. But I think the winner's already been announced as being a part of it, and it's Sheamus. No, I'm kidding. It's LA Knight. I don't understand how you don't have LA Knight going for the U.S. title at SummerSlam and having him win the U.S. Like, why didn't you have him win that little tournament? Him and Austin Theory, he beats Austin Theory, because I think Austin Theory in the U.S. title, it's kind of like it's run its course. I think it's time to make a change there. LA Knight is maybe the most over guy in WWE right now. I think he's at least on the list. I read yesterday he has the number 1, 2, and 5 top selling t-shirts in WWE on WWE Shop right now. Like, that's crazy. And they just keep beating the guy. Like, and I don't feel like they're telling a story of, oh, he's losing, and then he's going to get that big win. Like, or if they're telling it, they're not fleshing it out along the way. So I think LA Knight winning at SummerSlam, getting the big pop from the Ford Field crowd, They got to do it at some point, man.
Yeah, I'm with you. Same pick, LA Knight, and I love this. I love the personal story for him as a performer,
Right.
because when you think about when he came in NXT, there was kind of high expectations, and then not a whole lot happened. He was on the upper tier in NXT for a while, and then he came to main roster, and it just kind of went flat.
Well, they brought him up as a manager, Max Dupree, and
Yeah. So again, all of those things, right? To now have overcome that, for lack of a better term, and to be three of the top five selling T-shirts, being very over. Again, a testament to not giving up on yourself. I'm sure it could have been demoralizing, right? Clearly, he didn't wallow in that, at least that we know, and maybe he's used that to be where he is now. But yeah, him winning here, and again, I do think a program with Theory would be great. I mean, gosh, I what I don't want to see would be him versus Gunther, because again, Gunther is on that we're making history track. So anyone who goes through Gunther is just we're putting more notches in the belt. Which, sorry, spoiling the future pick. We'll get there in a moment. So Battle Royale should be fun. Again, like you said, opportunity for a lot of talents to get on the show that otherwise might not have.
Yeah, and Battle Royals are fun. So I hope this isn't on the kickoff, because sometimes the kickoff doesn't end up on Peacock the next day. It's really weird. I've noticed that in the past, and so I hope this actually makes the main show, because if I can't find the kickoff on Sunday, then I might miss it. And I like Battle Royals, and I want to see this one because I actually care, even though they haven't announced that the Battle Royal actually means anything. It doesn't mean you're getting a title shot or what, but it's a SummerSlam Battle Royal, whatever that means. Probably brought to you by somebody, I would think. Probably a sponsored thing. Tom, you get the first pick on what has been now branded is going to be the most viral match in WWE history. Okay, whatever. Logan Paul versus Ricochet.
Yeah, this is one of those ones where I really wish I were going to be live at SummerSlam. It's going to be great no matter what. But when I kind of saw, and then when this did become formally announced, I was like, man, that's a pretty sweet match. I think with their history too, with going back to the Royal Rumble, they're gonna do some crazy stuff. So I do think that statement of it'll be the most viral match does make sense. My pick's Logan Paul, and I think that's because there's bigger upside long term, even with him as a part-time performer. On the flip side of that, I love Ricochet and I have loved him for the longest time, back to Dragon Gate USA, to Evolve, to NXT, and I just feel like he doesn't necessarily get the spot in WWE that he maybe deserves, or maybe his skill set warrants, might be a better way to say that. I'd love to see him get the win, but I don't think WWE would use it in the right way. Whereas Logan Paul, having taken the loss at WrestleMania to Seth Rollins, getting this win here, following what they also did in Money in the Bank, is the right move for long-term storytelling.
No, and I'm with you. Logan Paul, he, like you said, he lost at Mania, so I don't see him losing here. I was actually just scrolling really quick here. It's our crackpot research team. By the way, our good side of our research team, Annette, did comment in and say the Battle Royal is sponsored by Slim Jim. So it is. I thought I remembered that it was sponsored by somebody, and it's Slim Jim. So thank you for that, Annette. I appreciate that. I was looking to see here when the last. Yep, it's not on the first page. And of course, there's 1,200 pages of Ricochet matches. I was looking to see when the last main event, pay-per-view, premium live event singles match Ricochet had was. I feel like it's been a hot minute since he's had a singles match on a premium live event, and I would venture to say this might be the biggest singles match spot Ricochet's had in WWE. I mean, it's SummerSlam, which is somewhat considered the second biggest show of the year. I kind of feel like Royal Rumble overshadows SummerSlam a little bit, but it's arguable, whatever. It's one of the biggest shows of the year, certainly. And, it really, I'd have to sit here and think for a little bit about when Ricochet has been in this prime of a spot, which is very cool because, like you, I've enjoyed Ricochet since Dragon Gate USA, heck, since he was Helios in Chikara back in the day under a mask. So to see him having this spot is really cool. he's going to get a lot of footage because it's Logan Paul that he's wrestling. That's going to get on TMZ and TikTok and all sorts of places, which is cool for him to be able to get that exposure. But yeah, Logan Paul's going to get this win. Logan Paul has said he wants to go on first. So actually, we did this maybe backwards, but the Battle Royal felt like the right place to start because Jake Paul is fighting, I think, Nate Diaz Saturday night in Dallas. And Logan wants to have this match, get on a plane, and hopefully get to Dallas just before Jake Paul hits the ring. So we'll see whether that happens for sure. But my guess is if Logan Paul wants to go on first, kind of like Brock Lesnar. If Logan Paul wants to go on first, he's probably going to go on first. And this would be a good first match on the live event, the premium live event. I mean, you're going to get the crowd going, big time for it. So I think it would make sense to have a place there as well. We'll move on to the Intercontinental title match. Gunther defends against Drew McIntyre. We are just months away, just a couple of months away from Gunther possibly passing Honky Tonk Man as the longest reigning Intercontinental champion of all time. And they've started to play that up. They started to show who he's passed on the list, when he passed Macho Man, when he passed other notable long reigns. I think they're intending Gunther to break Honky Tonk Man's record. Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful really wants, he really doesn't like Honky Tonk Man. Let's start there. Sean Ross Sapp really doesn't like Honky Tonk Man. And he really wants one time, preferably if it's in Memphis or somewhere between now and when Gunther would break the record, for Raw to be in Memphis, Honky Tonk Man come out and talk about being the greatest Intercontinental champion, and have Gunther come out and just smack the holy out of him one time. It'd make for a good visual, but I think they're headed to that. I think Gunther does break the record, which means he holds the title. I think it's into early November would be when he would break it, and I have no problem with that. I was a little surprised Drew McIntyre didn't come back as a heel, because I think he'd be a really good challenger for Seth Rollins at some point. And I guess he doesn't have to be a heel to do that, but it just, makes more sense. And it would freshen Drew up a little bit. But this is going to be really good. Gunther and Drew are both excellent in the ring. They were part of that really good banger back at Mania with Sheamus. So I'm looking forward to this match, but they're going to really have to try with near falls with me on this one, because I don't think Drew can win this one. Gunther is my pick.
Yeah, my pick as well is Gunther, and I think it's Pedro Morales next, and then Honky Tonk Man, if I'm not mistaken, from the graphic I saw, because they did have him just past Randy Savage. So here's the thing. So when you think of WrestleMania, when I think of WrestleMania, perhaps when you think of WrestleMania, some of the more indelible moments, this is one of them. Their interactions, this match, the three-way, right? So like the idea to build on that and give Drew and Gunther the singles opportunity, I believe this is going to be probably, I'm looking at the card quickly off to my left, the most physical match of the night, and that makes sense that it will be.
Maybe,
and that's that's to me what I think. Pardon me, is going to separate this from other things on the card, and give it the ability to shine and stand out if that's what it does. But yeah, Gunther retains, and maybe this is what allows McIntyre to maybe go in a different direction with his character. If he falls short again, right? He fell short at Mania. He had his moment because he, like the Sheamus history, he's called that out on the build of this. And then he comes back from an injury, and then here is this, and then he falls short again. We'll see.
Absolutely. Well, quick note, because I did find a way to pull it up. The last singles match that Ricochet had on pay-per-view was WrestleMania Backlash in 2021, when he wrestled Sheamus. And then before that was Super Showdown 2020 in February, when he wrestled Brock Lesnar, actually, for the WWE title. I forgot that it even happened. But
yeah, that's like I feel like your fantasy booking when you tell me that match took place. Like that's your.
Did. I now remember that it happened. I don't. Yeah. It was not long. But yeah. So it has been 2 years since we've had Ricochet in a singles match. Pretty crazy. Tom, you get the first pick here on the now MMA rules match, which makes a lot of sense given these two ladies, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, after one of the most out of left field turns I ever saw at Money in the Bank.
Yeah, and I'm not one who's always abreast of all of the kind of behind the scenes stuff, but I know like right when that happened, then the information came out that Ronda Rousey had said, "Hey WWE, I have a hard out date. Like she's done." And I truly think that money talks, but I do think this probably is her last WWE appearance unless they get her to go here and then Monday and they do some sort of tribute. So with that in mind, I don't think she wins on the way out. I think she uses this opportunity to really elevate her a true friend, even though they aren't friends on screen now, Shayna Baszler. And Shayna can become what she was back in NXT, this amazing submission magician, if you will. Not if you will, that's what they call her, amongst other things. So I'm going to go with Shayna to get the win here. Ronda does the honors, does her friend, right, and hopefully put Shayna in a spot where she's one of the challengers for a title coming out of the show.
Yeah, Monday night they did a promo, and I've seen clips of it. I have Raw recorded. I want to go back and watch the full thing, but I've seen little clips. They did a pre-taped, I believe it was, promo with Ronda and Baszler, which was really good. The promo work for this, Ronda Rousey has never been a great promo, right? And she's never really gotten better either, frankly, at that, which is fine. I mean, some people can talk, some people can't, as far as when the mic, is when the red light goes on, as Bruce Pritchard says. But these two ladies are, as you said, real life friends. They've wanted to do this, and that sounds like why it got, I don't know, sped up is the right word, but why it happened the way it did with like no warning, basically, because Rousey has this apparent hard out date and wanted to do this on her way out. I agree. I think she's going to put Shayna over because Shayna's the one who's staying, and it seems like that's what they wanted out of this, was to help Shayna, because she will be the one who's there. I think Shayna's promo work in this has actually been pretty decent. Other than the fact that I think they were trying to position Shayna as the heel, but she was the one talking about she loves wrestling, she loves doing this, and Ronda's just here for a payday. And I'm like, that makes you the babyface and her the heel. So there's been some booking stuff that's been a little like, just flip the role. Stop trying to make Ronda the babyface. Or just don't make either of them really. Make them both despicable, and they're going to beat the tar of each other, and that's okay. I did think Ronda's one line, though, a few weeks back about, I'll finally get you booked on SummerSlam, was a pretty good line to Shayna, because Shayna has struggled on the main roster to get on. I could pull up when she had her last singles match on a pay-per-view, and it might even be further back than Ricochet. So this is going to be good. I think this is going to be really good. Because I think these two ladies are going to want to put it all out there and really, really give a good show.
I think in the MMA rules space, are they going to take down the ropes? Have you heard or seen anything?
I haven't heard anything, or if it's just going to be MMA rules within the mat, or if they're going to have a cage built, like they did with like the Lion's Den with Dan Severn back in the day. That I think that would be cool. And Ford Field certainly is large enough that they could do something like that. And not have to lose a whole lot of seats. Of course, they've already sold seats, so be interesting to see how they pull that off. I think this is going to be really good, though, and I think a motivated Ronda Rousey will make it even better, because I think sometimes Ronda looks disinterested in what she's doing, and I don't think we're going to have that problem on Saturday. But Shayna's my pick here too. I feel like a lot of these are going to be chalk this week, just because I feel like that's the way WWE booking has booked it lately. So I won't be shocked. I'm not shocked that we're not differing a lot on this show. Some shows I think just lend themselves to more different picks, but we'll see how it goes, including with this match, the WWE Women's title match. Asuka defends against Bianca and Charlotte Flair. So first thing I want to say has nothing to do with any of these three ladies. We are 36 hours away from SummerSlam as we record this, something like that, close to that. How is Rhea Ripley not booked on this show? What are we doing, WWE? You have the most over woman you've had since China. Like, let's just name it. Like, Rhea is massively over. And they're hinting at her and Raquel, but maybe it's not going to be on SummerSlam. They've already pulled the Becky and Trish match off of SummerSlam because of timing. So I can't believe they pulled that off because they're putting Rhea and Raquel on. So that's probably going to be on SmackDown at some point. Like, And honestly, other than Finn Balor, how is nobody else from Judgment Day on this show? Like, what? Anyways, that's not what we're talking about with this match. I'm baffled. How are you?
But in that same space, so I thank you for mentioning Trish and Becky. I knew that was supposed to be here, and I completely forgot. Like I don't. Was it ever fully announced? I haven't.
It was supposed, like, when Becky beat Zoe, that was
tonight.
To get a match with Trish,
okay.
And then they've talked about it being at SummerSlam. I don't know if there was ever a graphic or not. I'd have to look. And then on Monday was when Adam Pearce said it's not happening. Now it's happening tonight. And then it was a 4-second DQ, and now it's set for, I think, 2 weeks or so on Raw.
Got it. Yeah, I when everything went back to June, I think that's when Trish turned on Becky. I was like, oh yeah, that's why that's happening. It's for SummerSlam, and they did the Saudi whatever they did there. But then from there, that was to get to, in my opinion, SummerSlam. But I didn't register that it wasn't here until you just said it. So thank you. And again, weird. Again, looking at this card, 8 matches with a pre-show match. Doesn't seem like there could be room for more, but again, PLEs have been less matches,
right?
More intentional time. So I appreciate that too.
Absolutely. Judgment, and just to jump back, April is when Trish turned. April.
Okay, wow.
And they've stretched this thing out,
so
and it's still not happening in SummerSlam.
Felt like it was June. It was 2 months previous. Judgment Day. Just a brief statement of Judgment Day. We'll probably talk about it more when we talk about Finn and Seth. What an amazing turnaround from what I thought a group was like not getting a lot of shine. Like if you go back to like thinking about Clash at the Castle, when they started to really come, they just seemed like fodder all the way into the year, fodder. And now they've really turned around. Now they're still coming out on the losing end, but Rhea being, again, like you mentioned, the most overall women's performer since China. For the most part, I think there's a couple of pushes there, but your statement is very well received. Dirty Dom, Damian Priest, again, all those guys. So yeah, we'll talk more about that, I'm sure, in a minute. But I just wanted to speak into, like, that's been one of the things that, as I've been watching WWE over the last couple of months when we have not been together, thinking, wow, they're really actually doing right by Judgment Day.
Yeah, Judgment Day's turned into a really fun act to watch, and in their own ways, each really good performers. I won't say Dom's good in the ring yet, but they're also putting Dom in the ring with people who, if he's ever going to get better, these are the right people. They're putting him in there with good folks to help bring him along if it's going to happen. So, and character-wise, that guy is wow. Anyways, so there's a women's title match though that we announced and then talked about everything else under the sun except these 3 ladies, which is not fair to these 3 ladies who are amazing talents. Asuka, Bianca, and Charlotte. It seemed pretty obvious this is where it was going. These are 3 of your top, right up there with Rhea as far as your top women in the company. So this has no way that it should be bad in the ring. Like, this should be really, really good because you have 3 just top tier in ring, top characters, top everything. This should be really fun. This is one of those ones where, like, I could be talked in any one of those 3 winning this match. But I go back to, you put the belt on Asuka. I think if you take it off her here, it hurts her more than it helps Bianca or Charlotte. I think Bianca and Charlotte are made. A loss doesn't hurt them. And I also feel like Bianca and Charlotte might be the feud that continues out of this match. And then maybe Asuka moves on to something else. And I'd have to really think about the Raw, Becky, Trish, after that winner, maybe Becky then and Asuka move into a program. That would be really good. Because we haven't seen, Becky's been wrapped up in this Trish thing since April. So Becky coming back to the top of the card would be good.
Let me do a check for understanding. The Asuka women's world title, is that like these ladies can go to either brand, even though Asuka's, I think, been more so on SmackDown and Rhea's been more so on Raw?
I don't know if they can. It's kind of like the undisputed or the universal in the world title, right? They're not. I don't think they're exclusive to their brands, but yet they're kind of exclusive. Like, they're going to primarily be on those brands.
Yeah.
Which I like in some ways, and in other ways it can just be confusing. All three of these ladies are SmackDown talents, I believe.
That sounds right to me.
I know Bianca and Charlotte are, and I think Asuka is.
And I thought Rhea was too, which is why I was thrown off. But
that's a good point. I think she might be. Yeah, they did a draft and then they went, who really cares about a draft?
They just stopped giving us colored belts, is what they did.
Right. Which I like, because then it does create this, things can happen, and now even NXT kind of gets woven into that, especially with Dominic Mysterio, which was a title win I was not expecting on my fantasy wrestling team. First place right now, after a terrible first half season. But we'll see whether that's sustainable. I'm a little scared, to be honest. But Dominic winning that title was good for me. So yeah, the lines are blurred. Annette just said, once again, I love it when you both try to make sense of WWE nonsense. That's fair. That's very fair. We're trying to apply logic to an illogical situation. So this is going to be really good in the ring, but I think it hurts Asuka too much to take the belt off her. So I would leave the title on Asuka, and that's what I'm going to pick. Although this is one where I will not be shocked if I'm wrong. Some of the other matches I feel pretty good about. This will probably, we always talk about our confidence points with our fantasy wrestling league. This will probably be a little lower on my confidence points just because I could see, and especially if Vince was around. Now we think Vince maybe isn't because of some major spinal surgery that conveniently happened 3 days after a Grand Journey subpoena and search warrant was executed. Weird how that happened. That's a different topic for another day, and it's a lot of speculation. But supposedly he's off from all duties. I don't believe that even when that man dies, he will be off from all duties. He will somehow call in from beyond the grave and change things. So, yeah, right, whatever. Him being more involved would actually lean me more towards like Charlotte, just because I know he's such a big, clearly supporter of Charlotte. But I'm going with Asuka. I said a lot. I'm going with Asuka.
Yeah, so when we looked at the card, and I appreciate that you outlined the whole, like, this is feeling like really chalk. And you were spot on with that. Before today, when I was looking at this card, I was like, yeah, this was the one match where I just really wasn't sure. Everything else I really felt good about, and we've clearly had some of the same thinking. I don't think that changes after this match. So, like, going back, right, when we talked about like next year's WrestleMania, I think we felt like the match that maybe is the goal is Rhea Bianca. And maybe that is title for title, but now with the titles changing and it not being a Raw Women's Championship and a SmackDown Women's Championship, they don't necessarily need to be champions. Correct. So therefore, Bianca losing to Asuka in the way that she did, and when you look at the story from WrestleMania through that, and then continuing on here, it's really kind of actually had some really decent logic to it, if not really good logic. Insert Charlotte Flair. The feud of Charlotte Flair and Bianca really has been good and has been competitive, and they don't need the title. Could the title be used in their feud to elevate it? Sure. I don't think that happens here. It may happen eventually, but I don't think that happens here. I think that somehow, some way, Asuka gets the win over one of the. Well, she'll get the win over one or the other, but it will be by.
That has to work. You are right.
Yeah, it will be by like some machination to allow Bianca and Charlotte to go. Nope, we still have an issue. Let's keep this ball rolling. So yes, I agree. I think we're going to be chalk straight through. Asuka retains.
All right. Well, there it is. And 3 matches to go here. The next one, I read a report yesterday that there was never a plan for this to have a stipulation. I thought it would have a stipulation, but it doesn't. It's just a straight up singles match. Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar, 3. They're tied at 1 apiece after Cody got the kind of weird quick roll up and then ran like a heel when he beat him the first time, and then Brock beat him the second time around with the Kimura and Cody passing out, if I remember that correctly, or maybe a ref stoppage anyways. So weird finishes to the first 2. This feels like it should have a conclusive. Who say you, Tom?
Yeah, it's Cody Rhodes all the way. The thing that I'm going to be interested when I see this is, the first 2 matches were pretty compact, hard-hitting, quick impact. Do they give us something more here, or do they follow that same like ideology, but somehow, some way Cody demonstrates his capacity to overcome the beast in a different way. That's what I'm excited for. I think these two have good chemistry together. Again, we talked about it offline before we started. Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare documentary, debuted this past Monday. It's almost 2 hours on Peacock. It's worth your time to watch. You know the story. It's still good to watch it through and have a lot of good sound bites and narrative to what's been going on. And especially with Cody's return to WWE, the Seth Rollins WrestleMania match, and then the pec tear, and then everything that came afterwards, which gets us kind of roundabout to here. And then it even speaks to the Roman Reigns component, because it kind of stops, the story in the documentary stops kind of right after the Roman match at WrestleMania this year. Well worth your time. Again, like we always talk about, how do you find two more hours in your week to find something to entertain you? It's worth it, but when you do get to it, you'll enjoy it. So Cody's journey continues. I think we put the pin in the feud with Brock Lesnar here, and I'm excited to see where we go next. I don't know where that is. And again, I think Brock goes away for a while, and the next time we see him is Survivor Series or Rumble or something like that, and that's totally okay. I think Brock Lesnar is more of a novelty act than Logan Paul at this point.
Yeah, and I agree. I don't think Brock is around for a while after this. As far as where Cody goes, that's... Yeah, I'm just trying to think on Raw. I wouldn't go back to Cody Seth at this point. You can get there at some point, but I don't think you need to do that. Somebody with Judgment Day, I suppose there could be something there. I mean, they're at the level, right?
Cody and Drew McIntyre.
Cody and Drew, that could be interesting. Absolutely, Cody and Drew could be interesting. I know Sean Ross Sapp and some of the guys at Fightful keep mentioning they'd love to see like Cody and Bronson Reed, like give Bronson Reed something to do. Big Bronson Reed, as he's now called, because we got to give everybody a stupid nickname. That would be interesting, although they just haven't done enough to build Bronson, I think, to where that makes a ton of sense yet. But Cody's got to win the rubber match here. And I think it's all a matter of how do they get there? And like you said, I agree. Is it a longer match? Is it still that hard-hitting impact? Cody Rhodes is one of the best in the world, as far as I'm concerned, at big matches. Like, he knows how to build a big match, and then he knows how to deliver a big match. Roman Reigns is obviously really good at that too. There's a number of folks who are good at that. But I felt like Cody's been that way even in AEW. He knew how to build to things and then usually deliver. Anthony Ogogo match notwithstanding. I think this is going to be really good. I think the atmosphere is going to be really good. Cody getting, I don't know, however many thousand people fit into Ford Field doing the whoa, and, it's going to be good. And then, I think Brock goes away until maybe Survivor Series or even Rumble. I mean, this could be the last time we see Brock this year, potentially. Or he could work Payback. I mean, so it's Brock Lesnar. He kind of, Brock works when Brock wants to, and they kind of let him. And I mean, it makes sense in some ways. I realize it's a little weird for booking, but if you can get Brock Lesnar on the card, you're probably putting Brock Lesnar on the card. So let's move on to the World Heavyweight title match. Seth Rollins gets a match against Finn Balor because reasons. I don't know why we needed this rematch.
Well, Damian Priest essentially was the distraction for Finn at Money in the Bank to give this a shadow of a doubt.
Okay. Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Again, Annette's comments of we're trying to apply logic to an illogical. And the thing is, this is going to be good. These are two world-class wrestlers. I do like that they've tried to play a little bit into the that this match happened at SummerSlam, what was it, 7 years ago, whenever it was, and that was Finn Balor winning the Universal title when it was first brought into being, and got hurt in that match, had to, vacate the title the next night on Raw, and it was against Seth. So I like that they've played that into it. It almost makes me feel like maybe you shouldn't have done the match at Money in the Bank, and you could have built to this at SummerSlam, and it would have felt bigger. By having it at Money in the Bank already, and I just feel like there isn't much of a reason other than I think coming out of this match. So Seth Rollins is my pick. There's no way Finn's winning, because I think the story coming out of this match is everybody in Judgment Day has something except Finn Balor, because we've been seeing the seeds in Judgment Day. I think Finn is on his way out of Judgment Day, maybe even to start a new faction. We saw him talking with JD McDonough a few weeks back. Maybe there's going to be something new come out of that. That could be very interesting to see. I love factions, so give me a reason that there's a faction, first of all, and it could be doing that. But Dominic has the North American title. Damian Priest has the Money in the Bank, and of course Rhea has the Women's World title. So I think coming out of this, it's we all have something and you don't kind of story, and that makes sense. And if you're going to break apart Finn from the Judgment Day, I'm curious to see if they add somebody into Judgment Day then to keep it a foursome, or if they just leave it as a trio, if there is the break from Finn. And does Damian become the leader, or does Dom even become kind of the leader de facto? Or make it super interesting, which I think is actually somewhat of what they've gone toward. Maybe Rhea is the leader of that faction. Mm-hmm. And, that would be something different we haven't seen, where there's a woman wrestler leading a faction of men. Because I think they could lean into that a little bit more than they do already. Rhea kind of is. I mean, she's the most over of the four, even though they're all over. So I think that would be interesting. So I think the story after this is where it starts to get more interesting. This will be fine in the ring. There will be, this will be very, very good in the ring, in fact. But there is just no way on God's green earth I see Finn Balor winning this title.
Yeah, it's Seth Rollins all the way for me as well. And yeah, so I don't want to say it's the end game, right? Because there's a couple of different end games. Clearly, it's Damian whenever he does cash in the briefcase. Now, I don't think that's here. It's going to get teased, of course. It always will get teased. But the feud is going to be Finn and Damian. And do we get there right after this? Are there seeds of dissension? And the one thing that hasn't come out is Finn hasn't, outright blamed Damian Priest for him not winning the title at Money in the Bank. There's some implication, with some body language, and with some they weren't on the same page as Rhea was telling them, which goes back to her being in the leadership role. But yeah, it's going to be a good match. I hope this is better than the Money in the Bank match. Not that the Money in the Bank match wasn't good. It's just in a big night of matches, it kind of got lost. I hope that doesn't happen here, because it's also another big night of matches.
And I think it could, because I think part of why that happened, in my mind, was that idea of, well, there's no way, there's no belief that there's any other outcome. I think sometimes that can hurt. So you got to work extra hard at breaking that. And I think that was part of the issue there, in my mind. Well, let's get to our last match, the main event, Undisputed Universal Title Tribal Combat match, which means no DQs. Supposed to be no outside interference, I think. Roman Reigns defends against Jey Uso. Tom, you have the first pick.
Yeah, so I'm going to make my first fantasy wrestling reference and say I'm excited that Roman Reigns will win this match because I have Roman Reigns and I would love to boost where I'm at in the standings by a stipulation-based world title defense. This has been great. Again, their match at the tag match at Money in the Bank, and then the build ever since then has just been good. Again, the entire bloodline story, from the beginning to whenever it does finally have its final chapter written, has been just really solid, episodic storytelling with peaks and valleys, ebbs and flows. It is arguably one of the top pro wrestling stories of all time. If not the best storyline that WWE has ever executed. The big thing with the idea that there should be no outside interference is really where the question comes into play for me of how that will play out in this match, right? Because you've got Solo Sikoa, you've got Jimmy Uso. You got to think one of them, if not both of them, are going to get involved. So is that going to taint then the outcome that when Roman does overcome Jey, there's going to be that behind the scenes, or that everyone in the arena, everyone on the PLE saw it, but it still happened, and no one and the combatants maybe don't know, or the winner doesn't know.
Right.
So then what comes next? I'm excited for this. I would love to have been live for this match. This, Cody Brock, and I said like Logan Paul and Ricochet are the three reasons why I'm bummed I'm not able to attend SummerSlam live. Because I think those are experience rich matches where being in an arena with 60,000 plus people will like add to the experience of the match.
Yeah, this is we were talking about, with Ospreay and Omega. We both felt confident about where it was going to end, who was going to win, but yet there were false finishes along the way that made you go, oh, they might. And I think they could do that here very well, because I don't think most sane people think that Jey Uso is going to win the world title. At least not here, maybe not ever, but not here. Like I don't think Jey is the one to beat Roman, although storyline wise it could work. I just don't see that. But I think there are going to be moments where they're going to make me believe that maybe they are going to be that crazy and just do it for fun. I'm looking forward to this, because I just think these two being cousins and being, as close as they are, and they've been so good in this storyline, like they're going to go out there and look to whatever Logan Paul and Ricochet do. It's going to be a very different match, but they're going to try to steal the show. And there's a number of those situations where they could do that on this card. Nothing on this card makes me go, oh, that's terrible. Why is that on the card? Really good card built by WWE. I think it's going to be really good in ring. And this is going to end the night. Obviously, this is your main event. Nothing else should even be considered for the last match on the show, honestly. I think it's going to end it on a real high note. And story, of course, has driven this thing. Like you said, maybe one of the best storylines WWE's ever done. And that covers a lot of ground, but is a statement that I've heard more and more, and I think is more true every time the story takes another twist and turn. And I'm curious to see where it goes on SmackDown tonight as we head into SummerSlam too. So this is going to be really good, but Roman Reigns wins. So we are chalk all the way through. Tom will retain his one match lead coming out of SummerSlam, and All In would be the next show that we'll pick. So we'll see. Hopefully they can flesh the card out before, the Friday before the show, since they'll, also have to have passports and things. Really quick, because I know we're right up against our stop time here. I have to say congratulations to Hikaru Shida. Did not see that coming. And I hope you've seen Dynamite.
Yep, I sure did.
Okay. Right after I said that, I was like, and I just spoiled something for Tom potentially. So, well, and if you've been on Facebook the last 2 days, it's hard to avoid it. I haven't finished Dynamite, so I haven't seen the match, but life is at a point right now where I don't see Dynamite till the weekend, so I know I'm going to get spoiled on it. And that's just, I have to be okay with that, or not on social media for 3 or 4 days in a row, which I probably should do. It'd make life a lot healthier, but it's just not what I do. So we are chalk all the way through on our picks, but enjoy SummerSlam this weekend. Programming note, we've hinted at it maybe once or twice. We will not record next week on the 11th, but after that, we should be back on our regular schedule. We'll miss a week here and there, as usual. If you've been following us for a little while, life sometimes just gets in the way. But we wanted to make sure we got this one recorded because we had the time and SummerSlam was here. We will be off next week. However, in 2 weeks, we'll be back. In 3 weeks, we'll be back. We'll be rolling forward, hopefully, here throughout the fall and the winter as time and life allows. But most weeks, we should be here. And we're looking forward to it because it's fun for us. We hope it's fun for you. Tell a friend about our show. If you enjoy pro wrestling, we'd love to have them listen as well. Click that subscribe button on whatever app you listen or watch us on. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple. We're on Google. Pretty much anywhere you get podcasts almost. So click those subscribe notes or subscribe buttons. Notes. I don't even know. What was that? And leave a review, all that good stuff. And feel free to follow us on Twitter as well, where we try to keep up on things. So Tom, anything else before we hit the road?
Yeah, no, enjoy the weekend. Enjoy SummerSlam when you can see it. Can't wait to be back in 2 weeks. We'll have a lot to catch up on. SummerSlam, Pick'ems, and then the build to all out and maybe all in and all out. We'll be in and out of the conversation for sure.
we will. All right, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll be back with you in 2 weeks here on Two Spot Monkeys Live.